our unalienable right to life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness, those rights were stripped from college kids in Blacksburg and Santa Barbara, and from high schoolers at Columbine, and from first graders in Newtown. First graders.
As observed, Barack Obama faces emotional sadness and hopelessness for the young American children whom are involved in the mass shootings through death and injury. He whom cares so much for America shed tears in the speech, knowing that beyond a shadow of doubt that the never-ending gun violence in the United States is only growing higher vigorously, even with attempts to restrict the accessibility to purchase or obtain a firearm. This is the president that Americans should honor and pay respect to. Everyone can make a mistake, including Barack himself, though despite this, all of his work of accomplishments should not be unnoticed in American history. Barack Hussein Obama Jr., the 44th Democratic President of the United States of America, not only was a bright, intelligent individual, but one that was humble and provided the charity for others at all costs. Before his role in the U.S. presidency, and convincingly the spark to Obama's presidency role, he would learn to become a leader using individual spirit and hope, a corrupt ideal based on the American dream, by becoming the community organizer for low-income residences of the South Side of Chicago. Later, due to his superior attributes of leadership and intelligence, he would be admitted to Harvard Law School in 1988 and would work his way to becoming the first African-American president of the Harvard Law Review. Obama's advocacy work led him to run for a seat in the Illinois State Senate. He ran as a Democrat and won election in 1996. During his years as a state senator, Obama worked with both Democrats and Republicans to draft legislation on ethics, as well as expand healthcare services and early childhood education programs for the poor. In 2004, he ran for the U.S. Senate and would bring forth a speech that grasped the nation's attention, as if the public wanted to hear his leadership over no other, winning his Senate race by a large margin. In 2007, the freshman Senator Obama would declare that he would be running for president, in rivalry competition with Hillary Clinton. He would go on to win the general election, defeating Republican candidate John McCain in 2008, becoming the official 44th president of the U.S. on January 20, 2009. Additionally, he is the first African American to ever hold the office, as well as the first president born outside of the continental United States. His significance to rebuilding the United States of America as a united nation is debatably argued between the vast political views, and with this said, he is no longer as valued as a remarkable president and instead is believed by public masses that he would not keep his promises. Despite this fact, he would go on to be re-elected on November 6, 2012, winning his second term as the President of the U.S.
We will take them out. We will kill bin Laden. We will crush Al-Qaeda. That has to be our biggest national security priority.
Obama, early in his presidency, demonstrates that he is able to keep a promise, a man of his words to the best of his abilities without a doubt. It would be years of his heavy search for Osama bin Laden under intelligent work ethics and months of following a specific lead in relation to Osama that the US CIA traced the courier link to him in a compound in Abbottabad that was only reachable by a dirt road. Using this evidence and under the presidency's approval of Barack Obama, the US forces planned for months of an operation to assassinate or capture Osama bin Laden, the leader of Al-Qaeda, the nation's most notorious terrorist leader. The killing took place on May 2, 2012, early in the morning in Pakistan, with 25 Navy SEALs arriving at the outside of bin Laden's compound using 2 Black Hawk helicopters. The group of men breached the outer walls to get into bin Laden and finally kill him. As a result of their accomplishment, Obama declared this day to be the most significant achievement to date in our nation's efforts to defeat Al-Qaeda. The president made big contributions to the assassination of the terrorist bin Laden, as he was the individual to give commands and final confirmations on the mission. Osama was a terrorist and also the most wanted dead amongst his kind. Due to past conflicts of the 9/11 incident for whom bin Laden claimed responsible for, he alleviates tensions while even some Americans wanting revenge on. Obama, coming in as the first American president to be elected, he promised numerous ideas to the public, but one that will go down in American history was when he stated, "If we have Osama bin Laden in our sights, and the Pakistani government is unable or unwilling to take them out, then I think that we have to act, and we will take them out. We will kill bin Laden. We will crush Al-Qaeda. That has to be our biggest national security priority. This promise was carried out and revealed to the public after he himself made the difficult decision to capture or assassinate Osama, given very minimal evidence of where he was located. It was a very risky move for himself, and if Obama was to make the wrong decision, it was a possibility for this event to be a trap set up for the US forces. The news that Osama bin Laden was assassinated had gone worldwide on a variety of media sources such as Twitter, newspaper articles, web blogs, Facebook, and almost every other media source to be created. The reaction that was implied through these media sources were mixed, as 20% of the conversations on Twitter and Facebook was humorous in nature. There was another 17% of the conversation throughout the week after bin Laden's death that it was just a conspiracy and that he still remains alive today, though Obama declines to release the photos of Osama's dead body today. Obama, whom kept this promise to his people, would create one that contradicts his own words, though the changes he implements are still heavily beneficial to American individuals. Given the benefits in comparison with the disadvantages, the pros would weigh out the cons, making Obama's new act more acceptable than society treats it.
No matter how we reform healthcare, we will keep this promise to the American people. If you like your doctor, you will be able to keep your doctor, period.
They're going to have to make some choices, and they might end up having to switch doctors. You've got to use this doctor as opposed to that one, or this hospital as opposed to that one. Now,
is Obama a liar? Well, the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act was signed into law by President Obama on March 2010. Its major provisions went into effect on January 1, 2014. The Act affirms the core principle that everybody should have some basic security when it comes to their health care. Obama said that at the signing. It is commonly known as the Affordable Care Act and widely nicknamed Obamacare. The Act extends insurance to more than 30 million uninsured people, primarily by expanding Medicaid, a federal program that pays for the medical bills of a low-income citizen, while providing federal subsidies to help lower and middle-income Americans by private coverage. Additionally, the Children's Health Insurance Program, CHIP, is developed so that uninsured children are given the opportunity to receive quality insurance experiences even with weak guardian support. The law requires all Americans to have health insurance by 2014, or pay a per-month fee for each month without minimal essential coverage. Although this shared responsibility provision is unofficially called an individual mandate, it was ruled to be in fact a tax and not a mandate by June 28, 2012 Supreme Court ruling. In turn, it is basically another way for people to pay insurances at affordable prices. The Obamacare allows for tens of millions of uninsured people to gain access to affordable health, high-quality health insurances, including the 50% of Americans who do not currently have the coverage, since individuals will be forced to choose a president-operated insurance plan. It will also greatly aid those individuals whom are not provided private insurance coverage by their job or company, since Obama is able to bring forth penalties upon corporates who transgress from doing so due to the act. Along with this, low-income civilians are heavily affiliated with this new act, since individuals making 200% less than federal poverty level are able to receive assistance with out-of-pocket costs on health insurances. In this way, Obama has contributed to 15.9 million lives of men, women, and children who are 158% below poverty level by enabling Medicaid through growth and expansion. To further signify the importance of Affordable Care Act, it also allows health coverage to be free or of low cost for kids and teens through Medicaid and CHIP. Also, given that it is offered 365 days a year, there is 24 hours full-time coverage whenever in need of help, something that Americans are not always accessible to. This is highly beneficial as the costs of this program are determined based on families' annual income and can end up being low in cost if you meet the requirements. Thanks to Obamacare, super rich Americans who earn over $10 million a year presumably have to wear a utility belt and now have to pay a tax rate closer to the merely very rich who earn between $500,000 and $10 million a year, so that programs such as Medicare are able to expand. To simplify, the upper class indeed hates Obamacare, yet those who benefit, such as the lower class, are very gratified for it. This gets at the idea that Obamacare is in a way redistributive. It's a transfer of wealth from the healthy to the unhealthy. If you're healthy, you may not have needed health insurance before, but you're now required to have it or pay a fine. And among those who already had insurance, 4.7 million people received letters saying that their private insurance had been cancelled in the wake of the law's implementation, mostly because the law puts new requirements on what health plans must cover, forcing individuals to correspond with President pushing insurance plans. So yes, although Obama has lied, his support for the lower class individuals is what pushed for his decision, and despite society's disapproval, he should be respected for introducing such beneficial act.
This week, after 5 years of effort with 11 other nations, we reached agreement on a new trade deal that promotes American values and protects American workers.
Finally, Obama's interest in expanding American-made goods through exports with global nations will eliminate more than 18,000 tariffs and other trade barriers on American products. Thus, Obama will participate in a trade agreement called the Trans-Pacific Partnership, TPP for short, after 5 years of secret negotiations. And on February 4, 2016, officials from each country signed the agreement, leading negotiations to successfully conclude on October 4, 2015. The TPP is between Australia, Brunei Darussalam, Canada, Chile, Japan, Malaysia, Mexico, New Zealand, Peru, Singapore, the United States, and Vietnam. The countries involved produce 40% of the world's total GDP, gross domestic product, larger than the North American Free Trade Agreement, which was previously the world's largest agreement. Unlike most other trade agreements, it will remove tariffs on goods and services and set reciprocal trade quotas. Despite this fact, the TPP is unique and unlike most agreements, since it removes non-tariff blocks to trade and harmonizes regulations and statutes. Although Obama would keep his compromise of the TPP agreement secret to the greater masses, the agreement between 12 nations to remove trade altercations would help the vision to boost exports and enhance economic growth. This advancement will allow for trade to occur without the restrictions of not only tariff barriers but also non-tariff barriers such as quotas, levies, sanctions, all of which are tolls paid in order to complete a trade transaction. More specifically, 18,000 tariffs placed on U.S. exports will be removed, and with this said, the results expected are to be exceptional. There is an estimate in U.S. exports of $305 billion annually by the year 2025. And which in a grand total calculation is about $123.5 billion in increase for the U.S. exports. This is allowed for American firms and their workers to expand exports to the trade market, since the elimination of tariffs will be a persuading factor in making an abundant variety of goods and services rather than the limited amounts that were produced before due to implemented tariffs. Another positive effect that will result in Obama's agreement to the TPP would be of the 12 nations agreement to cut down on wildlife trafficking, especially towards elephants, rhinoceros, and marine species. It prevents environmental abuses such as unsustainable logging and fishing. Those that don't will face trade penalties. Society were not pleased at all to hear this news, as this trade agreement is more so helpful and profitable to the upper class individuals rather than the middle class and lower class economy. Since trading goods have very little restrictions, large companies can mass produce a surplus of different types of goods to maximize profit. This in turn is less appeal to those working as employees of the company, since most of the prosperity will enter in the hands of the corporate owner. Also, many of which the lower class individuals were angry and disappointed to hear that their supported president was to undergo secret discussions without the opinion or even letting the public know. To conclude, President Obama was a heavy contributor in rebuilding the United States of America to a more unified and less corrupt nation, given that the country has not been in such detrimental financial state since the Great Depression. The greater masses supported him and would hope that all the best would occur if Obama were to be the official president, due to the fact that he was perceived as a typify to the American dream, a concept that has seemingly been corrupt for numerous of years. For this reason, between Inauguration Day and April 29, 2009, the Obama administration took action on many fronts in hopes to demonstrate to the nation that he was able to keep promises that he made to obtain the votes for his election, which exemplify for a good president. His ability to add Affordable Care Act to provide affordable health care and insurance, killing Osama bin Laden, the most wanted in the Al-Qaeda group, and finally increasing the nation's trade economy through the TPP are all phenomenal examples of how President Barack Obama is strong and worthy of being recognized as a significant president in American history.